Welcome to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK. Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the linen stitch, which creates a wonderfully textured stitch using the most basic of crochet stitches. So before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and of course the notification bell so that you never miss out on another one of my crochet tutorials or free patterns again. So let's gather the materials we need for today's tutorial. So the materials that I'm going to be using today is a 5mm crochet hook, and I'm also using a size 4 yarn, a worsted weight or an Aran weight yarn. You can use any weight yarn that you have to hand to practice this stitch. Of course, just use the corresponding stitch, the corresponding hook size that goes with your yarn. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this yarn. It's a bit of a secret. I can't release this video until the yarn is launched. So this is from Furls. It's called, I want to say Wonder, but obviously it is Wonder. And it's an acrylic yarn. It's a size 4 bulky weight yarn, and it does recommend using a 5mm crochet hook. So we're all good to go on that front. But it's incredibly soft, very silky, which can, as a beginner, kind of make it a little bit more difficult to crochet with, but it's absolutely stunning. But anyway, let's get on with the tutorial for the linen stitch. So we're going to make a slip knot and place that onto our hook, whichever way works for you. So the linen stitch has a multiple of 2. So it's made of a double crochet or a single crochet in US terms and a slip stitch. It's as simple as that. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to start by making an even numbered chain, +1 for our turning chain. So we just start by making a chain. Let's make a chain of 12. So that's, chain of 13. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, 13. So that extra one is our turning chain. So very simply from here, what we're going to do is to place a double crochet or a single crochet in US terms into the second chain from hook. So there's our first chain, and we're going to work directly into that second chain, just working a single crochet or a double crochet in UK terms. So we just yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2. Now to keep our edges nice and straight, we're going to then start our pattern repeat, which is a single crochet followed by a chain 1 after this first stitch. So each side is going to start and end to give us a nice flat straight edge. It's going to end with a full stitch. So in the next chain along, we're going to work a single crochet or a double crochet. And then straight away, we're going to chain 1. So we're then going to skip the next chain. We're not going to work into this one because that chain 1 counts as that stitch. What that's going to create is a space for us to work into as we come back the other way. So we're going to leave that chain unworked and work in directly into the next one along. We're going to place another single crochet or a double crochet in UK terms. Chain 1. And we're going to repeat this the whole way along. We're going to skip that next chain and work into the next one, placing our single crochet or double crochet. Chain 1, that's the important bit to create those spaces. Going to skip that next chain there and working into this one here. Chain 1. Skipping that next chain, we're going to work into the next one there. Placing our single / double crochet. Chain 1. So we're going to skip this one here, and this is our last chain to work into. So we're just going to place a single crochet or a double crochet in UK terms. So at the end of row 1, you can see we've got these lovely spaces that we're going to work into on our way back. So the turning chain is a chain 1. and it does not count as a stitch. So we've chained 1, we're going to turn our work. Now you can see here you've got your first stitch underneath, which we're going to place a single crochet into. We're going to insert yarn over and then pull through both loops. And then we're going to go into our pattern repeat, which is the linen stitch. The linen stitch is simply a single crochet or a double crochet followed by a chain 1. But it's important to recognize where you're working into to really create that beautiful texture. So from the side, you can see you've got a big hole, that's your chain space, and then you've got your stitch, and then you've got your chain space. So these are the chain spaces, and my fingers are coming through, and that's the stitch. And we're going to now leave these stitches unworked and work into the chain spaces. So we insert our hook into the chain space and work our double or single crochet and chain 1. We're not working into the stitches, we're going to ignore that and make sure we go the other side of this part of the stitch. We're going to work into that big space there. So insert the hook right in there, making sure that you don't catch that strand. You want to go behind there. Bring a loop up, pull through 2 and chain 1. So this is our stitch that we don't want to work into, and there's our chain space. So we're going to place our next stitch into that chain space. So we do the single crochet and a chain 1. There's our stitch there. We want to work into that bigger space. It's always more complicated when you've got your chain. So work into that big chain space, not into the stitch. So we've chained 1, done our single there. So there's the stitch, and we're working into that chain space there. Wonderful. So double crochet or single crochet, chain 1. And then we've got our stitch and then another stitch. So at the end of the row, we're just going to place a double crochet into that first stitch that we worked to help keep our edges nice and neat and tidy. So let's go into row 3 because you'll find how easy it is to find those spaces this time. So chain 1 to turn, and then into that first stitch we're just going to place a single crochet in US terms or a double crochet in UK terms. So this is where it gets a little bit more complicated because we don't want to work into that space, but we need to work into this chain space here. So ignoring that strand because that belongs to that stitch, we're going to work into that space next to it and place our single or double crochet and chain 1. So there's our chain space and there's our stitch. We just need to make sure that we go the other side of this V here. We're going in that side there and working our single followed by chain 1. Remember keeping an eye out for that V. We're ignoring that and going to the other side and working into the chain space. Chain 1. There's that V, so we're going to the other side. There's the chain space. Yarn over and pull through 2. Chain 1. There's the little V from the stitch before, and there is our chain space. Place your single crochet and chain 1. And there's our final stitch to work into. And there's row 3 completed. So you can see that it's starting to create these lovely, almost diagonal V's, so that it puts a stitch in every other place. And when if I bring you my big scarf back that I made, you can really see the stitch detail where you've got one stitch there, one there, one there, one there. Plus it makes counting your rows super, super easy because you only have to count one stitch. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and they mark the different rows because the stitches are in different places. But it's such a wonderful stretchy texture without using huge amounts of yarn. Not that I'm a skinflint, but I am. And it really does create the most wonderful scarf. Now this scarf, I'll put a link in the bio for you, in the description box, sorry, for you, where you can go ahead and find the pattern for this beautiful scarf. It's a very long one, but I just think this linen stitch is just absolutely beautiful. You may well know it by a different name, but my goodness, it's absolutely stunning. And you can just keep practicing the linen stitch there. So you just simply do a chain 1 as your turning chain. I place a double crochet or a single crochet into that first stitch just to create a really nice straight edge. And then I introduce the stitch pattern, which is working into the chain spaces only, placing a double crochet or a single crochet in US terms, followed by a chain 1, skipping that stitch and working into the next chain space. So keep an eye out for the V, making sure that you're going in under the other side to work your stitch, followed by a chain 1, look for the V, go to the other side. I'm doing this by feel because that feels different to the chain space, and you'll get, it just creates this wonderful fabric, and it works up really quickly once you're used to knowing what you're looking for and almost what you're feeling for. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and you're inspired to go and make everything linen stitch, because it is a wonderful textured stitch. And I love the fact that it uses almost the most basic of stitches to create such a wondrous texture. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you at another one of my crochet tutorials very soon. And of course, share with me any patterns that you do finish using this linen stitch. Thanks so much for joining me. See you soon.